Hey guys, welcome back to your channel. Today we are taking the I side with political quiz. Let's see, where did I get it open? Alright, let's just get right into it. Links will be down in the description. Alright, some juicy questions we have here. Now, I know a lot of conservatives watch this channel because conservatives just love to find anything so they can argue with. That's what I've concluded. Should the U.S. raise taxes on the rich? Yes, I was trying to. I don't know if I was. That was for large corporations. I'm just going to put yes. I think we need to fix all loopholes for large corporations and businesses in general. Should the government raise the federal minimum wage? Yes, make it a living wage. Yes, and adjust it every year according to inflation. Also, that most important. This is another most important. Do you support universal basic income program? Yes, everyone should receive income to cover basic necessities, including food and housing. Most. Should employers be required to pay men and women the same salary for the same job? Yes, and businesses should be required to publish their salary ranges for each position. I would say it's more important. Should there be fewer or more restrictions on current welfare benefits? Fewer. Current benefits do not provide enough support. Yeah, I would say, or fewer and ensure benefits go to those that need it most. More. Do you believe labor unions help or hurt the economy? Help, but bend their ability to make political donations. Most. Should the government make cuts to public spending in order to reduce the national debt? That's not what I meant to click on. No, reduce military spending instead. Most. Should the government increase the tax rate on profits earned from the sale of stocks, bonds, and real estate? Yes, and all income should be taxed at the same rate. Somewhat. Should the U.S. raise or lower the tax for corporations? Keep current rates but eliminate deductions and loopholes. Most important. Should welfare recipients be tested for drugs? No, only if they have a criminal history related to drug abuse. I guess. Should businesses be required to provide paid leave for full-time employees during the birth of a child or sick family member? I learned the benefits of this, and yes. I'll just put yes. Most. Should the government use economic stimulus to aid the country during times of recession? Yes, but in form of assisting sectors most heavily hit by the recession. Yes, but in foreign tax breaks for low-income citizens. More. I'm not sure about that one, really. Should the government break up Amazon, Facebook, and Google? No. Yes, I think Amazon, Facebook, and Google, all three have abused their power. Should the government require businesses to pay salaried employees making up to $46K per year, time and a half for overtime hours? No, our economy and business can't afford it. No, and the government is currently overregulated. Yes, and all employees should be paid in time and a half for overtime hours, regardless of their pay scale. Yes, and the government should do more to protect workers' rights. More. Should the current estate tax rate be decreased? Should the current estate yes, and we should eliminate it. Estate. I'm gonna have to do estate tax. An inheritance tax is a tax paid by a person who inherits money or property of a person who has died, whereas an estate tax is a levy on the estate of a person who has died. What's a levy? I don't understand this. A levy is a new tax impose, a tax fee or fine. No, I am satisfied with the current rate, somewhat. Should the U.S. continue to participate in the North American Free Trade Agreement? Yes, NAFTA helps lower the prices of consumer products. More. Should U.S. citizens be allowed to save or invest their money in offshore bank accounts? No, too many wealthy citizens are abusing loopholes in offshore banking laws to evade taxes. Most. Should the president offer tax breaks to individual companies to keep jobs in the U.S.? Yes, and drastically increase taxes and import tariffs on outsourcing businesses. Should the government increase environmental regulations to prevent climate change? No, tax carbon emissions instead. More. Should the U.S. withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement? No. Or more. Do you support the use of hydraulic fracking to extract oil and natural gas resources? No, we should pursue more sustainable energy resources instead. Most. Not because I'm the biggest believer of climate change, mostly because I think there are better alternatives to oil. Better read that question right. And gas. Should disposable products such as plastic cups, plates, and cutlery that contain less than 50% of biodegradable material be banned? No, but increased tax incentive? No. No, increased consumer incentives to recycle these products instead. Well, plastic can't really be recycled. We'll say yes. Should drilling be allowed in the Alaska Wildlife Refuge? No, and increase alternative energy subsidies to eliminate our dependence on fossil fuels. More. Should the government stop destruction of Dakota Access Pipeline? Yes, and the government should never be allowed to acquire land by eminent domain. Most. Should the U.S. expand offshore oil drilling? No, and provide more incentives for alternative energy production. Should the government give tax credits and subsidies to the wind industry? Yes, the government. No, the government. No, wind powers and no. Yes, and government should support more sustainable energy technologies. This is the future, people. I know a lot of conservatives are going to be very pissed at this, but we need to move on from the past. I'm not going to be answering the comments unless it's something I want to answer, okay? Because I have too many conservatives just blatantly attacking me. Should researchers be allowed to use animals in testing the safety of drugs, vaccines, medical devices, and cosmetics? Yes, but not for cosmetics. More. Should cities be allowed to offer private companies economic incentives to relocate? No, but punish them for moving jobs out of the country. Yeah. Should the government require children to be vaccinated for preventable diseases? No. Obviously, in the other stances, that's why I was reading. I am against. I was actually for it, but based on the science, I'm against it. So that is somewhat. Do you support the use of nuclear energy? Yes, nationalize the industry. Most. Nuclear energy is one of the best types of energy, in my opinion. Okay, I'll say that. Should producers be required to label genetically engineered foods GMOs? Yes, but I prefer to ban GMOs. Most.
Do you want to play a game with me first?
Alright. Should the government fund space travel? Yes. I would say it's somewhat important. I don't think it's that important at the moment. Should electoral college be abolished? No, but reform so that votes are distributed proportionally instead of the current winner-take-all system. Most. Should foreigners currently residing in the United States have the right to vote? No. Only legal citizens should be allowed to vote. Most. Should an ID be required to vote? No, and automatically register every citizen to vote when they are 18. Most. 21st century people, we need to move on. Automatic register every citizen to vote when they turn 18. Joe Biden's trying to do this, and that's one of the few things I support that he's doing. Should political candidates be required to release their recent tax returns to the public? Yes, and also release their medical records. More. Should there be a limit to the amount of money a candidate can receive from a donor? Yes, and politicians should not be bought by wealthy donors. Most. Should the minimum voting age be lowered? Yes, any citizen that pays taxes should be allowed to vote. Most. Should a politician who has been formally convicted of a crime be allowed to run for office? Yes, as long as they have finished serving their sentence. somewhat, or more. Should corporations, unions, and nonprofit organizations be allowed to donate to political parties? No, and no, but allowed don't no. No, these types of donations just turn into bribes. Most. Should foreign lobbyists be allowed to raise money for American elections? No, foreign interests should not be able to buy the influence of our politicians. Most. Should there be a 5-year ban on White House and congressional officials from becoming lobbyists after they leave the government? Yes, and make it a lifetime ban. Most. Should Ukraine join NATO? Yes. Should the military fly drones over foreign countries to gain intelligence and kill suspected terrorists? No, the military has no right to do so without a congressional declaration of war. Should the government increase or decrease military spending? Decreased. Most. Should the U.S. accept refugees from Syria? Yes, we should accept 10,000 refugees. More. Should the U.S. remain in the United Nations? Yes, and use the UN peacekeeping forces to protect our interests. More. Should foreign terrorism suspects be given constitutional rights? Yes, give them a fair trial and shut down Guantanamo Bay. Most. Should the U.S. continue to support Israel? Yes, with more aid and support. Yes, increase funding more. Yes, but respect our Israel's sovereignty and do not dictate how it should interact with its neighbors. More. Should the U.S. increase or decrease foreign aid spending? I am satisfied with the current amount of spending. More. Should the military be allowed to use enhanced interrogation techniques such as waterboarding to gain information from suspected terrorists? No, torture is inhumane, unethical, and violates the 8th Amendment. Most. Do you support President Obama's move to lift the trade and travel embargo on Cuba? Yes. More. That I don't think that's no longer relevant. Should the U.S. remain in NATO? Yes, but yes. More. Should Jerusalem be recognized as the capital of Israel? I don't know. I really don't know. Yes, foreign governments recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, I guess. No, and I think that's less important. Should the U.S. defend other NATO countries that maintain low military defense budgets relative to their GDP? Yes, and refusing to defend other NATO countries sets a dangerous precedent for the balance of global power. More. Should the government cancel production of the F-35 fighter? Yes. More. Should the U.S. continue NSA surveillance of its allies? No. No and abolish the NSA. Most. Should the U.S. sell military weapons to India in order to counter Chinese and Russian influence? No, we should not sell. No, this would. No, and we should increase diplomatic efforts to resolve conflicts peacefully. Most. Should the U.S. and NATO use military forces to defend Ukraine from a Russian invasion? No. Or wait. No, they shouldn't do that. I want to add my own stance, but I don't know if it'll work. More. Should the World Bank and International Monetary Fund provide financial aid to the Taliban government in Afghanistan? Yes. More. There's a lot of crap going down in Afghanistan, but anything we do, we need to do it peacefully. Peace, not war. Very much against war. Should illegal immigrants have access to government subsidized health care? Yes, if they pay taxes. More. Should the U.S. build a wall along the southern border? No. Keep the current wall. No, we should adopt an open border policy. More. Should undocumented immigrants be offered in-state tuition rates at public colleges within their residing state? Yes, as long as they pay taxes. Somewhat. Should sanctuary cities receive federal funding? Yes. Somewhat. Should children of illegal immigrants be granted legal citizenship? Yes, if they were born here. Most. Should local law enforcement be allowed to detain illegal immigrants for minor crimes and transfer them to federal immigrant authorities? No, too many nonviolent immigrants are being deported. Should Muslim immigrants be banned from entering the country until the government improves its ability to screen out potential terrorists? No, banning immigrants based on their religion is unconstitutional. Most. If y'all want to say to avoid another 9/11, my opinion, George Bush Jr., that's what I'm calling him, is the main reason for 9/11. Should working illegal immigrants be given temporary amnesty? Yes, but only if they pay taxes. More. Should the U.S. increase or decrease the amount of temporary work visas given to high-skilled immigrants? Increase. Our economy relies on businesses hiring the highest skilled workers at the lowest cost. Wait. Decreasing government should provide more incentive for citizens for these jobs. Lowest cost. I don't like. Well, I'll say increase. I don't like what that said. Should there be a temporary ban on all immigration in the United States? No, and we should increase the amount of immigrants we currently allow in the country. Most. Should immigrants to the United States be allowed to hold dual citizenship status? Yes, unless they have committed an act of terrorism. Sorry. Should immigrants be required to learn English? No, we should embrace the diversity that immigrants add to our country more. Should immigrants be deported if they commit a serious crime? Yes, as long as it's safe for them to return to their country. More. Should the U.S. increase restrictions on its current border security policy? Yes, and allow border states to manage their own security policy. More. Should immigrants be required to pass a citizenship test to demonstrate a basic understanding of our country's language, history, and government? Yes, but it should only cover very basic and simple topics. More. Should the government increase spending on public transportation? Yes, but only to spend, yes, and provide more free public transportation. More. Should the government continue to fund Planned Parenthood? Yes, their services reach far beyond abortions and can save many lives through cancer screening, prenatal services, and adoption referrals. More. What's your stance on abortion? Pro-choice but banned after the first 3 months. More. Should health insurance providers be required to offer free birth control? Sorry about that. Someone's acting like an idiot. Should health insurance providers be required to offer free birth control? Yes. Somewhat. Or more. I think it would cut down on abortions if they did. Should transgender athletes be allowed to compete against athletes that differ from their assigned sex at birth? I have been kind of swayed on this. So my answer is yes, but only if their hormone levels are equivalent to those in the gender category in which they compete, somewhat. Should gender identity be added to anti-discrimination laws? Yes, and government should do more to protect minorities from discrimination. More. Should the federal government institute a mandatory buyback of assault weapons? No, increase mental health and background checks instead. More. Should a business be able to deny a service to a customer if the request conflicts with the owner's religious beliefs? Should a business be able to deny service to a customer if the request conflicts with the owner's religious beliefs? Yes, but the owner must post a sign stating their beliefs and what they refuse. More. Should gay couples have the same adoption rights as straight couples? Yes, as long as they pass the same background checks as straight couples. Most. Should states be allowed to display the Confederate flag on government property? No, it should be put in a museum where it was originally flown. More, or somewhat. Should universities provide trigger warnings and safe spaces for students? No, college is meant to challenge students' thoughts and opinions so they are prepared for real life. Somewhat. Should the federal government require racial sensitivity training for employees? No, just ensure there are clear guidelines, action, and accountability for acts of discrimination. More. Should businesses be required to have women on their board of directors? No. Board members should be the most qualified regardless of gender. More. Do you support the death penalty? No. No, too many people are innocently convicted. More. Should government support separated church and state by removing references to God on money, federal buildings, and national monuments? Yes, but do not waste money removing existing references. More, or no, less. Should the military allow women to serve in combat roles? Yes, as long as they pass the same physical test as men. More. Should hate speech be protected by the First Amendment? No, yes, as long as it, or no, more. Should the people under the age of 18 years old be able to receive gender transition treatments? Yes, but only for non-surgical treatments such as puberty blockers and hormone therapy. More. Should terminally ill patients be allowed to end their lives via assisted suicide? Yes, but only after a psychological examination to show they fully understand this choice. More. Because if you're allowed to shoot an animal and end its life, then yeah, ain't much difference. Should social media companies ban political advertising? No. Should there be more restrictions on the current processes of buying a gun? Yes, require strict background checks, psychological testing, and training. More. Should teachers be allowed to carry guns at school? Yes. Schools should require at least one teacher or security guard to be armed. More. Should victims of gun violence be allowed to sue firearm dealers and manufacturers? No. Manufacturers and dealers should only be held liable for negligence. Do you support affirmative action programs? Yeah, yes, somewhat. Are you in favor of decriminalizing drug use? Yes. Actually, most. Should it be illegal to burn the American flag? No, this is a violation of free speech. More. Or somewhat. Do you support the Patriot Act? No, and pass strict laws prohibiting government surveillance without probable cause and a warrant. Most. Should the Supreme Court be reformed to include more seats and term limits on judges? Yes. Most. Should people on the no-fly list be banned from purchasing guns and ammunition? Yes, but not until the no-fly list screening process is improved for accuracy and includes due process. More. Should the government be allowed to seize private property with reasonable compensation for public or civic use? No, and the government should never be allowed to seize private property. Most. Should the government regulate social media sites as a means to prevent fake news and misinformation? Yes, there is too much fake news and misinformation on social media. No, the government should not determine what fake or real news is. Should internet service providers be allowed to speed up access to No. This would allow them to remove competition, create artificial scarcity, and increase prices. More. Should the U.S. government grant immunity to Edward Snowden? Yes, and invest the CIA and NSA directors instead. Most. Should the Juneteenth be declared a federal holiday? Yes. More. Should the members of Congress be allowed to trade stocks while serving in office? And no. Most. Should the military upgrade Air Force One? No. Most. Should there be limits on set for members of Congress? Yes. Yes, these term limits will increase performance and prevent corruption. Most. Should homeless individuals that have refused available shelter or housing be allowed to sleep or encamp on public property? Yes, and create more social programs to provide free food, clothing, and medicine. More. Do you support the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, Obamacare? Yes, I support a majority of the plan, but not all aspects. More. Should the federal government increase funding of health care for low-income individuals? Yes, but I prefer switching to a single-payer healthcare system. Most. Should the government fund the World Health Organization? Yes, but only related to the amount that other countries contribute. Do you support a single-payer healthcare system? Yes. This guarantees healthcare for everyone. Most. Should people be required to work in order to receive Medicaid? No, it is hard to apply for a job if you are sick. More. Should the government require employees of larger businesses to be vaccinated from COVID? No, I think no. More. Do you support the legalization of marijuana? Yes, and immediately release anyone serving time solely for drug offenses. More. Or most. Oh, no, I answer yes and legalize and tax and regulate marijuana instead of criminalizing it. Should cities open drug safe havens where people are addicted to illegal drugs and use them under the supervision of medical professionals? Yes, this is necessary to reduce the drug overdose death rate more. Should private businesses have the right to ask consumers for their vaccination statuses? No, most. Should the government regulate the prices of life-saving drugs? Yes, and we should socialize medicine and healthcare. Most. Should there be more or less privatization of veterans' healthcare? More. Veterans should be able to see any doctor of their choice. Should the federal government be allowed to negotiate drug prices for Medicare? Yes. More. Should health insurers be allowed to deny coverage to individuals who have a pre-existing condition? No, it is immoral to deny health insurance to people with pre-existing conditions. Most. Should the government increase funding for mental health research and treatment? Yes, but only increase funding for yes, the American healthcare system needs more funding to provide a higher quality of care and services. Most. Do you support increasing taxes for the rich in order to reduce interest rates for student loans? Yes, and increase government funding so that every student receives a free college education. Most. Should critical race theory be taught in schools? Yes, but not until they are teenagers. More. Should the federal government pay for tuition at four-year colleges and universities? Yes. More. Should the federal government fund universal preschool? Yes, but funding should come from states instead of the federal government. Most. Do you support charter schools? Yes, but only if there are none. Yes, and the entire education system should be privatized. Most. Do you support Common Core national standards? No, education should be handled at the state and local level instead of the national level. More. Should the government decriminalize school truancy? No. Somewhat. Should the government provide financial aid to families affected by COVID-related closures? Yes. More. Should the government offer students a voucher that they can use to attend private schools? Yes, but I'd rather privatize all education. More. Should the president be able to authorize military force against Al Qaeda without congressional approval? No, Congress should approve all military conflicts. Most. Should the U.S. assassinate suspected terrorists in foreign countries? No, they should be captured and given a fair trial. Most. Should funding for local police departments be redirected to social and community-based programs? No, increase funding and training for police departments in higher crime rate communities. Most. Should police departments be allowed to use military-grade equipment? No, extreme situations should be handled by higher agencies with specialized training and equipment. More. Should convicted criminals have the right to vote? Yes, but only after completing their sentences and parole/probation. Do you support qualified immunity for police officers? No, and increase the personal liability for misconduct. Most. Should nonviolent prisoners be released from jail in order to reduce overcrowding? Yes, but they must perform community service on a daily basis, somewhat. Do you support mandatory minimum prison sentences for people charged with drug possession? No. More. Should prisons ban the use of solitary confinement for juveniles? Yes, it's severely psychologically damaging to young, undeveloped minds. Do you support limiting unions police unions collective bargaining power for cases involving misconduct. Yes, and eliminate collective bargaining for police unions. More. Should police officers be required to wear body cams? Yes. Most. Should the government hire private companies to run prisons? No. Private prisons will sacrifice quality of care and rehabilitation services for profit. Most. Should drug traffickers receive the death penalty? No. Sentence to life without... No, I do not believe in death penalty. Most. What qualities are most important to you in a candidate? Oh, whom would you most like to run for president in 2024? Can I choose more than one? No, I can't. Bernie Sanders. Which quality is most important to you in a candidate? Morality, leadership, integrity, vision, transparency, consistency, honesty, common sense, intelligence, effectiveness, commitment, accountability, humility, compassion, patience, health, toughness, emotional intelligence, ability to unify. Show my results. I'm going to pause this for right now. Alright, time to see what I am. This is recording, right? Yeah. I'm 87% socialist, 87% green, 85% transhumanist, 85% American solidarity, 4% peace and freedom, 3% democratic, 51% libertarian, 25% constitution, 21% republican. My ballot. President, I most likely to vote for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. No. Pete Buttigieg. No. Kamala Harris. No. Bernie Sanders. Yes. Tulsi Gabbard. Possibly. Joe Biden. No. Candace Owens. Definitely no. Ben Shapiro. No. Ron DeSantis. No. Donald Trump. No. Mike Pence. No. So... anything else? Let's see where I fall on. Where am I on this? Don't see me. I am far left authoritarian. I don't really consider myself to be that, but oh, here I am. I am moderate on regulation. I am moderate on Keynesian. I am moderate on democratic socialism. I am neutral on big government. I am moderate on pacifism. I am extreme on democracy. I am extreme on Tinder. I am moderate on collectivism. I'm neutral on decentralization. I am moderate on multilateralism. I'm moderate on authoritarian. I am extreme, I am moderate on environmentalism. I am moderately politically correct. I'm moderately left-wing. I'm moderately privacy, moderate isolationism, moderate progressivism, moderate globalization. Or no, I'm neutral on globalization. I'm moderate on globalism and neutral on multiculturalism. What they call me? What am I considered based on ideology? I'm more for legislated equality. Well, I might state this is weaker. My beliefs are. So apparently I'm a socialist, but I'm moderate left-wing. Do with that information what you will. I'm going to end this video right here. And you all get a good idea of what kind of person I am. I'm going to get a lot of hate comments for this, I would say. But I don't really care. See you guys in the next one. If you're still watching this, good on you. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Comment down below. It depends on if I will respond, depending on what you're saying. But I mean, I've got a life myself, so I'm not always going to be answering all the comments. So thank you for watching. See you guys in the next one. Try not to kill each other. And I think whether you're conservative, liberal, moderate, whatever you are, our main focus should be getting along with each other better. I am for unity, and that's what needs to happen. Thank you for watching. Be peaceful, one another. See ya.